What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to the 27th episode of Tuffy Talk. Again, but today we got part two of the extend or descend for the ACC Basketball Coaches with Dan Siegel from ACC Content. If you haven't seen part one, please click up here at the top to go back and watch part one, and make sure to go do that, and then come back and check us out for part two. So with that being said, again, please, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button to follow us, and also to make sure to like this video if you enjoy it. Check out our other content, and follow us at Tuffy Talk Now, bang, on Twitter and Instagram. And also before we get going, want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout Eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. So with that being said, let's go and get started with part two. So moving on now to Notre Dame with Mike Brey. So Dan, hand it to you, man.
I'm going to say descend for Mike Brey. He's had a lot of success. He's basically an icon at that program, kind of an under the radar icon as far as the ACC is concerned, because when we're listing the icon, you're going to say Boeheim, Coach K, Roy Williams. You might even throw like a Tony Bennett in there at this point. But Mike Brey is actually going to be the longest tenured coach in the ACC for their current team. So that goes to the point that he's an icon, but I think he might be I don't think they're going to fire him, but he might be kind of forced out, like his days are behind him, kind of makes the decision himself. I don't think I'm the right man for the task anymore if the success doesn't pick up. Now, Notre Dame has a very talented roster this year, so yeah. I think it's kind of make or break almost. If he doesn't make the tournament, then what is he still doing?
Yeah, I agree.
Yep, I would agree. I think they're done. I think he's a descend. I don't think they bring him back. I think you're right. I think you're going to ask him, do you mind just let's call and let's do a handshake under the table and let's walk out of here as friends kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he's going to. I think he's done a great job early on in his career. I think he still gets great players in there. I just don't know if he'll be great the next 5 years. So I'll say decent.
Yeah.
And I will say this too. I think he's got a pretty good coaching tree. If I remember, I can't remember all the guys off the top of my head, but I think he has a pretty good coaching tree. And kind of like people think of with Duke or Roy Williams. I don't know if Roy Williams has. I mean, there's the guy from Cincinnati, but that's about it. So, I think Notre Dame will be fine. I think they got a very storied basketball program, but I just don't think he's going to be there another 5 years.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I mean, for me, so he's entering his 22nd year at Notre Dame. He has overall 448, 248 overall record.
You said how many years? How many years has he been there? How many years?
22nd.
He's been there for 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have that reaction.
Yeah, just like me with Leonard Hamilton's age, right? Yeah. So
wow, holy cow, I did not know that.
Yeah. So again, but the last 3 seasons he's been 14-19 overall, 3-15 the ACC, 20-12, 10-10 the ACC, and then 11-15, 7-11 the ACC. So basically last 3 years, he hasn't had a winning record in the ACC yet, which, so that's why I think for me, just like I think you were kind of saying, Megan, eventually I think soon, just like maybe like with the Jim Larinaga over the last couple of years, you kind of see that handshake under the table and just kind of walk him out the door kind of thing, not necessarily like a fire, but we kind of mutually agree to move on.
Announce your retirement kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because ride out into the sunset. Well, thank you very much.
He's actually 62, so he's not overall that old. So he could become like a, like assistant to the head coach kind of deal, or something like that. I don't know. Go somewhere.
I don't think it's going to happen because it's kind of like,
or like maybe like a scout or something like that. Something like that.
Yeah. I think of it kind of like if you're there, you're like Frank Beamer when he left Virginia Tech and they brought in Justin Fuente. Frank Beamer kind of was like, look, man, I'm just going to get out of here because I'll be a distraction otherwise.
Yeah.
I think I think if a coach is going to do that, if he's a icon, like you say, I think he probably needs to just step away and let the other coach do his thing. But maybe he does.
Maybe he does.
Maybe he does. Because I guess State did hire the Ruffin McNeil from ECU, but that was after 3 years or so of him being at Oklahoma. But I'm getting off track.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But he also wasn't a former State coach, but yeah.
True.
Yeah. So now moving on to Pitt with Jeff Capel, and I actually am looking forward to saying my point, but I'm going to let you go first, Dan.
I don't think he lasts 5 more years. No.
Yeah.
I'm going to descend him. They're basically, if you look at kind of the trend of a program, they have like their year 1 under their head coach. They have their year 2. This is going to be what, Capel's 4th year?
I think so.
I think maybe
I
3rd.
think he's going into his 4th year.
4th year. Okay. But his roster basically looks like he's in year 1 because he had his whole talent pool basically either transferred out, or if you're Champagne, you went to the NBA and it wasn't very attractive to return to Pittsburgh because of how bad their program state is right now. So I think he gets like another chance to kind of build it up. But the fact that he built up his roster, but the fact that he didn't do it in his first 3 years and he's now back at year 1, what evidence is there for me to think that he gets a kind of a second go at it? He will now build a roster worth and a pedigree worth keeping for more than 5 years.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. I think he's going to be, I think he's not going to be there in the 5 years. Personally, I think when you saw those transfers, you mentioned the transfers happening, but do you remember when they happened? It was like a really random point in the season, and it was like 2 or 3 weeks away before the postseason, I think, started. So I think he's got some other stuff that's something. I don't know if it's like he seems a guy like who just, I don't want to say runs his mouth a lot, but he seems like he's more about voicing his frustrations during a game. And maybe he does have a coaching place he's drawing up. I don't know if he's a good motivator, and I feel like he's probably got there's reasons why those players left, put it that way. And if he's such a great coach and he's got the Duke allure to him, why did they leave? So they were starters basically, and they left. So
yeah.
I don't think he's going to be there. I think there's something going on there, and yeah.
Well, so for me, so Jeff Capel. So believe it or not, when Coach K was getting older, like like more of I would say a couple years ago, you look at Jeff Capel as like the perfect replacement for Coach K, just because he was around Coach K for so long and the Duke program for so long, and he does have experience being a head coach. So you do kind of see him as kind of that, possibly perfect replacement, but then obviously he went to Pitt. The biggest thing, which I will say, is actually, again, for those who don't know, that he actually used to be a head coach at Oklahoma for 5 or 6 years. It was from 2006 to 2011. But the issue is that he didn't win any conference titles, but he did make it to the Elite Eight in 2009. But the problem is that he actually got fired because Oklahoma had the worst back-to-back basketball seasons in Oklahoma basketball history. And so for me, I always kind of have the feeling that if you have a coach who has coached in a Power 5 program and it didn't work out, unless there was a huge gap in terms of time-wise between the two tenures, I wouldn't want to hire him again, just because if it does work now, why didn't it work then, kind of deal. Like, you just don't really see that, unless it's that a long time that obviously, okay, he's had a chance to learn, had a chance to grow. Okay, maybe we'll give him another chance, but I don't know. So that's kind of my shot. But again, that's why, honestly, for me, I mean, when he went to Pitt, I said, okay, they're grooming him to be the head coach of Duke. They're like, hey, Jeff, go coach at Pitt for a couple of years, and then we'll call you back, when Coach K retires, kind of deal, But obviously, just like, so, his 3 years so far, he's had 15 ACC wins in 3 years. It's kind of like, okay, I don't really know how much longer this issue is going to go. And just like you said, with the guys leaving in the middle of the year, just not a good look. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's a decent as well. All right. So now moving on to the legend Hall of Famer himself at Syracuse, Jim Boeheim. Dan, what you got?
Yeah, the next couple are going to be pretty short answers for me.
Yeah.
Because Jim Boeheim, no, he's just the fact that he's going to be past 80 at that point. So I don't think he just coaches that long. Like he's obviously going to go out retiring based on not like the same way that Roy Williams or Coach K did, but probably like a tier below in terms of his legacy. He's just, there's no way he still coaches past 80 though.
Yeah. Making what you got.
Personally, I think this is his last season. I think for 2 reasons. Well, 3 reasons actually. Roy Williams and Mike Krzyzewski are gone, so you can leave now.
Yeah.
It's like but I think 2, he is how many wins is he away? He's 18 wins away from 1,000 wins. I think he wants to hit that mark personally, because the other 2 Hall of Fame coaches, but Roy Williams didn't, or did he? I don't know. I don't think he did. I know Mike Krzyzewski did, and I think he wants to hit that mark. And it's been with a reasonable season, he could get 18 wins. So I think that's part of it. He can retire as 1,000-win head coach and Hall of Fame. It's one accolade to have. But I think also on a personal thing, he's coaching his son right now, and I don't think he's going to want to just quit while he's coaching his son.
Yeah.
So
he's actually coaching 2 of his sons. They
That's
got
right.
Jimmy Boeheim coming in. So
I
love that.
So personally, I think he's going to retire soon. 5 years from now, I think he's done.
Yeah,
for sure. But I think the idea of I'm getting to coach my sons. I got a very easy chance to hit 1,000, which hardly no one does, and the other 2 guys have left already. I think I think he's leaving.
Well, so the funny thing to me, which I'm kind of thinking about, is obviously Syracuse is all known too well across the country as being the zone team. I mean, they are the master disaster.
It's like Georgia Tech and triple offense.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So like,
Football.
Georgia Tech is famous when they had their new coach coming in for the spring game, they lined up in the triple option offense, and then they audibled out. So I'm kind of like thinking, like, what if like for the first game, like in honor of Boeheim, they like the other team like lets them like get in zone, and then they call man up, and they switch to man. Everybody's like, whoa, Syracuse running a man defense. That's crazy.
That would be funny.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Every Syracuse fan would be cheering and hollering because they love that. So.
Oh yeah. But yeah, no, for me, I think, because I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I would say, I mean, this year with the team they have coming back, they're going to have a good team again this year, I think, in my opinion. And so I definitely think getting 18 wins is doable. Getting 1,000 wins would be a huge chip. And then again, with Roy heading out and Coach K heading out, I just think he starts to see himself, amongst all these young guys. And it's like, yeah, it's time for me to go. But also do one of the biggest stats as well, which I'll say. So he is a multiple time Team USA assistant coach beside Coach K. Won his national championship back in 2003. He actually has been to 5 Final Fours and has won 15 Big East titles. But since they joined the ACC, I think it was in the starting season was in 2013, he hasn't won any kind of ACC title. So I think that's kind of, to me, it's just one of those things. I'm not necessarily saying that like there's a descent per se, but it's just like, I just don't know if you're ever going to get really back to that point kind of deal. So, but again, I mean, he's one of those guys that, I mean, Syracuse, you're never going to get rid of him. If he wants to coach there until he's 99 years old, you're not going to get rid of him. I mean, because he's Jim Boeheim. He is Syracuse. You're not going to tell that guy to leave. Seriously. So yeah, but for me, I'm going to say decent. I just don't see him being around for too much longer.
And we all know how much he just hates Greensboro and their food.
Oh, get out of here with that! Oh my gosh, yeah. like the ACC Basketball Championship should always be in Greensboro, and football should be at Charlotte, and then baseball should be at Durham Bulls or Charlotte Knights. Period, in my opinion, forever and ever. So
that's not a North Carolina homer thing. It's just Greensboro is tournament town, what they call it.
Yeah.
If you put it anywhere else,
doesn't make sense.
I 100% agree with you guys. I'm only biased because I live very close to the city, New York City and Brooklyn. So
Yeah.
Barclays Center, those are great times being able to go every year. But
I get that too. Yeah.
From a holistic perspective,
Yeah.
definitely.
I'll tell you one thing. I will say I can get on board somewhat with them taking it to DC, because DC is still kind of in the middle. It's still within driving range for a lot of people, but it's like saying, hey, we're going to host a tournament in Miami. Well, nobody can really go to Miami. Not from the people in the South. No one can really go up to Brooklyn. It's just, yeah, for fans like you, it's very convenient, and that's great. But
fair case.
Yeah.
Well, but it can never get as dumb as when baseball went to Louisville for their championship. It was like nobody was at any of the baseball games, but then when Louisville played, it was sold out. And it's like, okay, you're not gonna make any money if just Louisville fans show up. Okay. So
the headquarters of the conference is here in North Carolina too. So
right.
Kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So side note there. So yeah, now I know you kind of said Dan. So Virginia, easy answer. Go for it.
Yeah, I don't need to really say much besides yes, he will be there.
Yes.
Yeah. No easy answer. We're going to descend this guy. No, he's
yeah.
Tony Bennett is another guy I kind of think of in the same vein as Hubert Davis. Really good guy. I know people who don't like him, but I think the majority of people do like him as a person. But I mean, maybe I'm the only one. Maybe that's a misguided thought. But either way, as terrible as it is, I want to just gouge my eyes out watching Virginia play basketball. He's an icon, as you used for Mike Brey. He's going to be there as long as he wants to be there. He won them a national championship.
Yep.
So he's going to be there we're going to ascend that guy.
Yeah. Well, and see the reason why my face changes because I'm thinking in my head of all the UNC fans that are going to clip making at the before and after he says Tony Bennett in the same breath as Hubert Davis, and I was like, oh God, what are you saying there? So
I'm saying that they like personality. I'm not saying that Hubert Davis is going to be anywhere near as good. I hope his offense is as boring as Virginia's.
Yeah. Well, but here's the scary thing. The scary thing.
I will hold on. Add this. Carolina would run Hubert Davis out of Chapel Hill if he brought in an offense as slow as Tony Bennett, because Carolina likes high-paced offense. That ain't going to cut it in North Carolina.
Yeah, it's definitely a different type of vibe in Charlottesville. Like they learn to embrace it. But
hey, if you want to win, that's what we got to do. And Virginia says, okay. But UNC has if you get 100 points, then Bojangles give them free biscuit or something like that. I don't know if Virginia's scored 100 points and what?
If we score 30 points.
Yeah, if we score 30 points.
Hold the defense on. If you hold the opposing team under 50 points, that'll be the equivalent.
Yeah, that'd be right. But the scary part though is this guy's only 52. This guy's young. He's got a lot of time left. He's got a lot of.
We have another 20, 30 years we could watch him do this to us.
Yeah, but again, me as a State fan, I love Tony Bennett. That guy's. He's just like you say, he's a great guy and he does things right. And at the end of the day, I just hate when we play him. But I will
add this too. State has had a lot of success playing Virginia lately. So
just saying,
no one else has beaten Virginia back-to-back road trips at Virginia except NC State in a long time.
Feather and Keith's hat there. So, but yeah, no, easy X10, easy. Virginia Tech, Mike Young, Dan, give it to us.
This is also fairly easy. I'm going to say yes. I think Virginia Tech fans absolutely love the guy. It's basically polar opposites with their football coach in terms of how much they love the guy. And he's done great things. He has a great mid-major resume. He's built, people forget that Virginia Tech was a very good program coming in with what Buzz did. But then again, everybody transferred away. Kerry Blackshear is the most notable. So he kind of rebuilt the program up very fast. And he's doing a very good job at Virginia Tech. Mm-hmm. Now the Tyrese Radford situation, that stinks, but I don't think that's just a blip on the radar.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to say descend.
Ooh, interesting.
And my reasoning, because I have a wife. My wife is a Hokie. And so I lived in Blacksburg, so I've made a few friends there now. I personally think Virginia Tech fans, for basketball, not football, but basketball, are only very excited about basketball when basketball is good. And
Well, that's all fans, but yeah.
well, I mean, but my thing is though, State, like for State, Carolina, Duke, you're going to love basketball, even if basketball is bad. I think they're like Louisville, Kentucky. Those two schools are going to still love and care about their basketball, even when they're bad.
They'll just be really unhappy. Yeah.
They'll be really unhappy. They'll be very mad and passionate about it.
Yeah.
I think Virginia Tech's a little bit more indifferent to basketball. They couldn't really care. I think at times they can't. I mean, they do, but they're all about their football mostly. My personal experience, having lived there, and if they're good, they're good, and they're all in it. But if they're not, they're kind of like, okay, whatever, back to whatever I was doing. I think Mike Young is still riding some of the coattails of Buzz Williams. That's my personal take. I think he did well at Wofford. I never got that hire that they did when they hired him in the first place. And I just don't. There's times I don't really see where they're going as a program with Mike Young.
Yeah.
Personally, like it's like you hired him, great. Do you really think he's the future kind of thing? I don't know. I'm predicting that in like the next 2-3 years, you're going to see some question marks start to arise around Virginia Tech. Like you mentioned Tyrese Radford leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if there's going to be a lot of buy-in with Mike Young. I don't know. He may fit the Virginia Tech vibe well, although I don't really know what that is with basketball because, again, they're all about football.
Yeah.
But I've also heard from some guys who are around the athletic department there. I got one friend of mine just told me like he just kind of like, yeah, Mike Young's kind of, we're still kind of
feeling him out
in the honeymoon phase a little bit kind of thing. We're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like he's good. But didn't they in the tournament only make it to the semifinals because one team got COVID? I think that's right.
So Dan, correct me, but basically what I remember for last year is that they won all their easy games, but then whenever their hard games came around, they all of a sudden had a COVID breakout or something like that, and they couldn't play. Is that what year?
This past year?
Yeah, this past year.
They had a signature win against Villanova very early in the year.
That's what it was.
And then they beat UVA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I will say this: if they keep beating UVA, I'm gonna tell you what, Virginia Tech hates Virginia.
Yeah,
it's like just like NC State hates Carolina and Duke.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing.
Yep.
They view Virginia as the wine and cheese uppities, turn their nose up at everybody like we think of Carolina and Duke. So if he can beat Virginia, they're golden. Like he's golden. Like you're great. Yep. But they're more indifferent to their basketball far and away compared to football.
Yeah.
And I think I think Virginia Tech's in the same kind of boat as we talked about with more Miami, I think, and more I won't say Florida State. I think Leonard Hamilton has changed the dynamic there a little bit, but it's kind of in that ballpark. I think he's still riding the coaches of Buzz Williams, who I thought was a great coach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a heck of a coach when he was there. I just don't see the future with Mike Young.
Yeah.
I didn't get to hire. I know I'm talking longer than I have some other schools because I just got a personal connection to Virginia Tech. I don't think in 5 years, I don't think they're going to extend him personally. That's just my bet. I think they're going to ride the contract out and maybe see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, I think that, a lot of Virginia Tech fans will kind of look at this past year and see, oh, we went 9-4 in the ACC. Wow. Like, we did really good last season. And, we were a number 3 seed and, wow. And, kind of that deal. But, I mean, they, first round, they lost to Carolina in pretty convincing fashion. And, like overall, you won 15 and 17 last season. But, had a signature win against Villanova, which is nice. But, before that, when he was at Wofford, the last year he went 30-5 overall and 18-0 in conference, which is crazy to think about. I mean, undefeated in conference. So you kind of, I think Virginia Tech needs to give him a chance. I think, they need to let him build the program. He got thrown into a tough situation. Obviously, they did not expect Buzz Williams to leave and go to Texas A&M. That was definitely a shocker, but I mean, not a huge shocker, but just, I mean, they weren't necessarily ready for it. But I think once you kind of heard the talking of Texas A&M, it was like, yeah, he's from there. That's his dream job. He's probably gone. And so it stunk. But so I think you got to give him a chance a little bit. He's a young guy that built up a great Wofford program, and we'll see what happens, kind of deal.
Yep.
So now
let me add this to.
Go ahead.
Well, let me add this real quick. I was going to say, I want to correct something. The note I had about them getting into the semifinals, their last few games of the regular season, they got COVID, and they chose not to play because another team got COVID,
Right.
And so they kind of rode into the postseason
As a 3 seed,
not playing like 2 or 3 games,
Mhm.
and then just kind of slid in there and they lost.
Yeah.
So I'm just not buying Mike Young at Virginia Tech. Do I think he fits in there a little bit? Kind of. But I think people are kind of trying to figure him out too there. So we'll see how it goes.
So, Dan, finish us off. Wake Forest, Steve Young, my man.
All right, Steve Forbes, I'm going to say, I think he's going to be there in 5 years. Like, Wake Forest is kind of a program where, I mean, just think about their football program. They're like mediocre to above average consistently, and the fans are thrilled.
Yeah.
So I think all he has to do is do something similar for basketball, and I think Steve Forbes is a great coach. There's a lot of stuff on him. So the players kind of like the fact that he's more of a freestyle five out kind of guy. If you look at Steve Forbes, you really read into him. There was points at his East Tennessee State tenure, which was the mid-major school he came from, that he thought he would overcoach the games, and East Tennessee State struggled. But he recruits well because the players love to play for him. He's very freestyle. Like I said, he runs a 5-out offense, and he did that the last couple of years at East Tennessee State, and they did very well. I think they won 31 games in his last year. So I think that was probably the best hire Wake could have gotten. I'd say there's definitely more than a 50% chance he's there in 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree.
And make it real quick, but sorry. Yeah. Steve Forbes. I said Steve Young. Don't know why I said Steve Young. Steve Forbes. Go ahead, Bacon.
Yeah, Steve Forbes. He is. I think he's going to be there for another 5 years. After at the 5 years, they're going to extend him. As looked at the record, I think he's won like 74% of his games. He falls under the same coaching tree as the coach was at Wichita State, who was a really good coach. So he's had that teaching there. But I honestly don't know a ton about him. And I didn't really know a ton about when they hired him either, although I know he's been a coach much longer. And he's won the Southern Conference. He won Coach of the Year for regular season. Or he won the regular season and the Southern Conference tournament in 2017 and 2020 at East Tennessee State. I know he only went, I think it was 6-16 at Wake Forest. But Wake Forest, we also know their roster is garbage a lot of times, and But the thing with Wake Forest is they could be back if Virginia Tech basketball can be really good again, like it was really good. I mean, they were never good at hardly ever. They got to be to the point they were with Buzz Williams back. They can do it at Wake Forest because Wake Forest has the history. Yeah. So they just need the right coach, and they certainly got the money because they're a private school and they can pay those kind of things. But I think he's I think he's going to be give him a couple years. I think let him get his guys, and he wants to get. I know there's a guy that State's recruiting who's from the Winston-Salem area, and I bet they're all over this guy. But I think he's going to be. Actually, they got a point guard from Raleigh. I think his name's Carter Witt. He was a guy who was a really big time player, and I think a guy like that, he was a true freshman last year playing that came in a little bit late, I think, in the season for Wake Forest, and ended up doing pretty well. I think started a few games for him. I think Wake Forest is going to be a problem with him personally, and I think in the next 2 or 3 years, I think you're going to see Wake Forest where they've been in the bottom, I think you're going to see them being about the middle of the ACC, somewhere in that range. It could be more, could be less.
Yeah.
But I think the days of Wake Forest being a crappy basketball school are about over. I think Steve Forbes is going to do a good job. He's got the pedigree. He's got the experience, and he's won where he's been at. He's proven he can recruit. He's already gotten some guys in already with a short amount of time he's had. I think just give him time. I think he's going to do good at Wake Forest. So I'm going to say extend.
Well, so for me, yeah, I mean, it's extend as well. But the biggest thing I would say is why I extend is because they gave Danny Manning 7 years, and he went 78 and 111, and he was 30 and 80 in the ACC. 30 and 80 in the ACC. So if you give that guy 7 years, yeah, no, Steve Forbes will be here in 5 years, guaranteed. I mean, unless Wake Forest just went on some crazy tangent, but it's like, wait a second, like, what do you mean we're letting him go? So yeah, no, but I mean, yeah, last year he went 6 and 16, 3 and 15 ACC. But I mean, again, just like you said, Wake Forest didn't have much to work with, didn't have any fans last year due to COVID, but Wake Forest basketball didn't really have many fans show up at basketball games anyway. So it really wasn't much of a difference for him anyway. But yeah, I mean, what he did at East Tennessee, his last year going 30 and 4 and then 16 and 2 in conference, got to give the guy time. And then, definitely if I were him, I'd be calling Tim Duncan and Chris Paul every day, until they show up, and try and get some fans.
Especially after especially guys like that, like Chris Paul is now in the Western Conference Finals. Those guys can carry a lot more class. Chris Paul's going to school at Winston-Salem State,
right?
Which is kind of odd,
yeah.
But he's going to be right there occasionally. You get that guy around the program, Tim Duncan around the program.
Mm-hmm. Those are two big guys.
I personally think what Virginia Tech was the last few years with Buzz Williams and maybe recently with Mike Young. I think you're going to see Wake Forest get there very soon.
Yeah. So, but on a quick side note, I am officially starting the Dave Clawson. Why is he here train? Like there's a hype train, but then there's a why is he here train. And why is Dave Clawson still in the ACC?
We're switching sports now.
I know we're talking basketball here, but I just gotta say, we're like, golly, man, why that guy is still here and hasn't got hired somewhere else? I have no idea. But anyway. So yeah. So
job security, man. Job security.
I know.
Get paid.
I know. Yeah. But again, just
low pressure.
Who knows? But anyway, so yeah, thanks, Dan. So again, that's all, the school. So thank you, Dan, for joining us, man, and appreciate all your help, man. So for all those fans as well, who, if you guys haven't checked out ACC Content, make sure to go check them out. Dan, what's the best place for fans to go check you guys out at? I know you have a podcast. You can find them on Twitter. Where else?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I do have an Instagram, but I'm not really using that very much. If you find me on Twitter, I have basically everything attached to my bio. I have a podcast. I have a personal link to I write for Pypeline, and there's a personal link to all the articles that I wrote. So I write stuff for all ACC in general. I write stuff for specific teams. So just check me out at ACC Content on Twitter.
Yeah, I was going to say to kind of compliment, I think he's had some good takes on things before. I like seeing his stuff on Twitter and reading it. So definitely go follow him, guys.
Yeah, awesome. Perfect. Yeah. Well, so thank you all again for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Please make sure, again, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. It really helps support the channel, supports us, and helps grow our following a little bit. Please also too like this video if you enjoyed this. Please check out our other content if you haven't already. Our Things that State Fans Never Say, our other interviews, discussions. Make sure to go check it out if you haven't already. And also to make sure to follow us at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter and Instagram. And again, thank you as well to our sponsors at Flat Lens, Jessup Insurance Group. Make sure to go check them out as well. All their information is in the video description below. So thank you all so much again. Please make sure to stay safe. And as always, go Pack.